Hi everyone, thank you for being here. Today we are talking about 3 things you can start doing in 2025 to get you closer to the dreams you've always had in 2026. This year I've had to come to terms with the idea of planning, and that this shouldn't be a thing that I'm scared to do or feel weird about doing or think that'll make life boring, but I feel like this is the general consensus that a lot of us have, is if we plan something, it means it's boring, we already know it's gonna happen, it's premeditated, it's not as spontaneous. So at the end of the day, we plan a lot of things, and those things usually are fun. The best times that you have are probably on vacation, which you probably have planned months in advance. You probably planned where you were going and what you were gonna do on that trip and exactly when you were gonna get on the flight and which hotel you were gonna stay at when you got there. You planned all of these things. And I'm sure you do go on vacation this way, because if you've ever gotten on a flight or didn't know where you were going to sleep at night, you were filled with this incredible anxiety that is very real and very warranted about where am I gonna be. So you probably don't show up to the airport and just take the next flight somewhere, or just show up to a random hotel and cross your fingers and hope that there's space for you for the night. So we plan things all the time, and planning can also be done in much smaller things. You probably plan time to go spend with friends. You create days for family. You carve out time for the things that matter to you and you plan for them. You probably don't just show up to your friend's house hoping that they're going to answer the door and have a meal ready for you, or have a meal ready and expect your friend to show up if you never told them. So we plan all the time. And yet, we are constantly told that planning makes things boring. And I realized that this was not helpful to me, because planning things out has only ever made the experience better. And you aren't restricted to that plan. You can veer off of it, but if you have a general idea of where you're going when you go on vacation, of where you want to see things, where you want to visit while you're there, it's a lot easier to fill in the gaps while you're there. You can stop by a new restaurant that you didn't hear of before, you can stop somewhere else. But if you have a general idea of where you're going to be excited about the destination and the journey. So these are the things that I had to come to terms with, like, why am I so weird about planning? Like, I hated planners. While I was in school, I never used a planner. I would just memorize everything that I needed to do. And there was definitely times where I forgot things. And I would write all the time. And I always knew that if I had prompts or if I had a structure that I was working towards, it made the writing process a lot more fun and a lot better. And I personally never realized that this connection existed and that these two things were connected. So if you want to get to a better place in 2026, try to figure out the best ways for you to plan. And that could be your goals, that could be your vacations, that could be the places that you're trying to go over the next 5 years. Your plan does not have to be restricted to any time other than the one that you choose, and your goals should have these time limits and be more thought out, because then you'll actually be able to do something. So that was what I had to come to terms with. And if you watched the last video, I talked about where I'm now in my 24th journal in 24 months, and each month had a word. Now, every month I had a few things that I specifically did, where I would write out a set of intentions for the month, quotes I found on Instagram that were fun, and then I would end the month on a letter to myself reflecting on the past month. And these two were the only things that I knew was going to happen in that notebook. The rest of what was filled in between the other 25 pages was really up to how things changed in the month. And that provided enough structure for me to keep moving forward with it, and, you know, the freedom to enjoy and just write about what was going on in life at the time. And a lot of things changed. But I never planned the word more than the day of starting the next journal or a day before. It was never more than that. I never planned it like 3 days before, which sounds crazy because it's like, this is a word that I'm going to reflect on for a whole month. I should probably plan it a little bit further in advance. And then it got me thinking, what if I did plan this? What if I was more intentional about my writing and what I was working towards? What if I looked at my whole life and planned out what I wanted, or at least took an evaluation of where I was in all of these categories? And that is where I Choose Me came from. This is where I started talking about this in my last video as well, but this is the first time that I've ever looked at any word of the month more than a day in advance. And all 12 months are planned out within this, and every goal is being referred back to throughout the entire year within the journal. So this planning took place over these past 6 months, and it made me realize all these other categories where planning would probably help me. Like, I looked at my finances the other day, and I realized that I was spending a lot of money in certain categories where it feels unnecessary. It doesn't make sense to me that I've spent so much money in certain places and I don't feel like I have what I would want for spending that kind of money. Like, I spent a lot of money on food and groceries and going out to eat, and yet I do not feel like I'm a person that I would want to be who has spent that kind of money and is living the life that you should when you spend that kind of money on you. And that made me realize, a budget doesn't restrict you. It doesn't force you into a category. Now you can't look past it. It makes you reevaluate, is this actually working towards what I want? Is this working towards my highest good? And that's what I believe planning can do for you. If you have 27 people that you want to visit over the next year, if you don't plan accordingly, you're not going to see all of them. And as you start planning and you see life starts coming up, maybe you realize some of these people you can meet at the same time, or some people aren't as worth it. And the more intention you start putting into everything, the easier your life gets and the better it gets. So that's what I started to realize with everything that I was looking at, just trying to prepare for this I Choose Me journey. Is I don't think I am financially exactly where I want to be, physically, mentally, emotionally, and certainly spiritually. And these are the 5 freedoms that this entire journal, planner, whatever you want to call it, revolves around. It's these 5 freedoms. And every single week has been transformed into a 5-day week. So every month has 6 weeks and 5 days in it, where each day you work on a different freedom. Now, this is a monthly task. A daily task that you go back to every single day, because that is what we should be doing. We should be going back to the things we want every single day and figuring out if what we're doing is actually working for us or not. And planning ahead will show you what is and what isn't working. And I realized that I was not putting enough intention and time into the things that matter to me. And I want to live a beautiful, fun, exciting life that isn't restricted, and planning and budgeting and figuring out where my time and money and all of this is going isn't actually restrictive. It's allowing me to see what I currently value, what I want to value, and how I'm going to get there. And we'll go into values and freedoms and beliefs and all that into our next video. But I really want to focus on this idea of planning. What are we planning for? What life are we creating, and what are we working towards? At the end of the day, if we're not planning it out, whatever happens is just going to happen, and we're going to go with the flow, and the flow can take you anywhere. If you've ever been in a river or in the ocean, if you just go with wherever it takes you, you might end up in the middle of the ocean or in a place where the drop is very large and you might not be able to swim in that depth. So we are constantly evaluating what we're doing and what we're not. And if we aren't doing this, then we're just living the life that others want from us. And that's not what we want to do, is it? We want to be in charge of the life that we want. And to have a beautiful one requires thinking about it, evaluating, and adjusting when that's not working for us. So I created a budget for me for the following year so I can save way more money, and and do it intentionally and do it with a purpose and know where that money is going to go when I save it. And that fire book I talked about the other week was really helpful with that, and just learning about financial independence and what it really means and what it means for me personally. So planning is something that you can start doing today. You can start planning your meals out for the following week. You can start planning your time and writing it out on a calendar or writing it out on a piece of paper. And that was also something that was so funny to me, because I was like, I write all the time. Why not write out what I want to do and make it more clear? So that's something you can start doing. I really want to do meal prep, and not necessarily like cook on Sunday and eat it for the whole week, but like figure out on Sunday what I'm going to eat that week, so I don't have to keep making this decision over and over again. And that is where planning also helps you, is you're not constantly repeating choices and spending more energy on things that don't need it. I recently reevaluated my laundry system, and for some reason I had 3 different hampers that I've accumulated or bought or I didn't know I had. So I have 3, and each one has now been assigned towels, darks, and lights. And now when one of these is full, they just go into the washing machine, and that's it. There's no more separating out by colors. There's no more figuring out when to do it. Oh, this one's full, but that one's not. No, they all have a purpose, and they're all in the same order, and they all get put back in the same order. This is not to be completely restrictive. This is so I do not have to think about laundry anymore. I do not have to question if I can combine these clothes, or if it's the right color, or if I should do towels first, or it's already been decided, because the one that's the most full is the one that gets done, and I'm throwing stuff in it every day, so I'm naturally evaluating the levels. So this is to help you organize things in your life so you aren't constantly giving energy to things that you don't find have value. Of course, I want a clean house and clean clothes and good food, but I don't want to be spending hours upon hours figuring it out. And that is where I felt like I got to these past few months, was I was like, I feel like I'm spending all my time figuring out what to cook, cooking it, and then cleaning up after it. And I can't spend this kind of time anymore, because I have a life that I want to live, and I want to learn, and I want to grow. And this constant spreading of my energy to things that don't matter just wasn't working for me. So you can start planning today. You can evaluate what you're going to do next week and see if that's what you actually want to be doing. Do you want to be going to all these events, especially during this time of the year? We're invited to so many things. Do you actually want to go? What can be removed off your list? And start being more intentional about your time. So that's what I'm trying to do, is to get all of these things in order, figuring out what I'm going to do for meal prep, how I'm going to do it, structure out the weeks a little bit more, just to make it easier to actually go and embark on this journey fully, and have the time every day to spend 10 minutes thinking about my first mental freedom goal, and then what I'm going to do to help me get there, and spending time with books and podcasts and learning, because that's what I value. I don't value spending a lot of time on things that will bring value, but the more I think about laundry, I'm not getting more out of it. The clothes don't come out cleaner and fold themselves the more I think about it. But the more I think about what I'm going to do with my time and spend time learning on things that I find useful, that return on investment is actually there. So planning. If you've ever felt weird about it, let me know down below, because is this just a me thing? And I don't know, maybe it is. But maybe you've also have been told that it's boring. And honestly, it just takes less time to do it. If I can eliminate thinking about laundry and cleaning and the dishes and food and grocery shopping by like a third, that's such a win. So do what you can, figure out what you can plan today. What can you do today to make next week easier, or the next day easier, or today easier? How can you plan out the rest of your day? So look at planning. How can you incorporate it at the micro and at the macro? And if you're interested in the macro, I Choose Me is available now. We are going to be starting it in January. There's going to be videos every week talking about what I'm writing, what I'm doing, what I'm learning, and I just want to bring you on this journey with me, because I have always wanted to know, like, what am I supposed to do? Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And hopefully this can be a way that we can do it together and I'm learning with you. I haven't done this journey yet. You will see it happen in real time, and I'm excited. Part of it's been planned, but part of it, there's so much room to grow. And that was another thing for me. It was that planning gets you part of the way. It doesn't do the rest of it. It doesn't fill out every single second, and it doesn't do the work. So those are the other things that come with planning and with life. Is parts of it are planned, parts of it just happen, and parts of it you're going to figure out on the way and you're going to learn. But start somewhere and direct your attention in the areas that you want it to go and grow. Wherever you send your attention, it's going to grow there. So choose wisely, and that is what I'm trying to do. So that's our first thing. So the second thing that is really important and has been an influential part of my life since I was a very young kid is taking notes. Now, you may have enjoyed taking notes in school, or you might have hated it, but either way, it can be helpful to you. I remember when I was in first or second grade, I would get notebooks and rewrite my notebooks because I wanted it to look cleaner and more organized, and unintentionally, it was helping me memorize and learn what I was already doing. So it is a really powerful way to get what you've seen in the world onto paper, and it's not necessarily something that you need to go back and review all the time, but as you're doing it, you're learning these new practices a lot quicker because your hand is connecting to what you're writing and it's connecting back to your brain, and all of it is now circulating together and you can move forward a lot easier. So at the end of the day, taking notes, whether it is on index cards or in a notebook, this is a bullet journal that I use as like a review of my day, which I understand is not how you're supposed to use a bullet journal, but I don't feel quite comfortable yet putting tasks on that I might not cross off, which also weird fear, must have to do with all the planning stuff, and just like feeling like I'm not doing enough, and then to like visibly see it on a page that I'm not doing enough. Yeah, we're working on it. This is why we're here. We're figuring it out together. Or you could write it in a notebook. This is my December journal. Or you could write it on bigger pieces of paper. This is where I do lots of fun little activities, just to do like mind practices and stuff. But you can do this as extensively as you want. You can have different notebooks for different things that you're doing, or you can just have one commonplace notebook. I've been hearing that's what it's called, where you just write stuff down, and it's from various things. But whatever you do, taking notes leaves a record of what you've done with your life. If you have spent time with different creators, or from different teachers, or from learning from different documentaries, or just wanting to know how you're spending your days, writing things down, taking notes will help you along the process. And there was a reason why all of our teachers told us we had to take notes while they were lecturing, because it does help you. And if you aren't necessarily a writing person, you're more visual, or you're more here, if listening to things helps you more, whatever way you learn, writing things down will still help you get there quicker. And that's really the goal, is to not have to take 10 years for a lesson to finally sink in. We want to reduce that time as much as possible because there's more stuff to be learned and there's more life to be lived. So if you can take notes while you're watching a video, or while you're, watching a documentary, while you're watching something, usually seems to be the way, or if you're reading a book, if you are planning something out, write notes, take notes down. If there's somewhere that you want to go, research it for 10 minutes and write what you come up with. This will give you a clear place to go back to if you want to. I'm not necessarily a person that is constantly reviewing what I've written, because I'm just keep going, and a lot of the times I'm re-listening to certain lessons, but every time I get something different, even if the person is talking about the same topic, the way that they're expressing their thoughts on it this time, it feels so different. So I just take notes every time to see what I capture. And I will go into this at another time, but I have been taking notes while I read books for the past 5 years, and the way I started taking notes is completely different. And I'll go way deeper into that in a different video, but the main point is that I will take notes off of what I understood. And that's a really good in the moment check to see if you are absorbing what you're reading, if you're processing it, and if you can summarize it. If you can summarize what someone is saying or write it down as they're saying it, it teaches you how to think clearer and think faster. You start to develop all of these different pathways to start just connecting things a lot better. And if you can do this for all sorts of things that you're doing, I'm interested in all sorts of learning techniques and things, and just learning different ways in general to be a better person. So the more I write down, the more connections I can see that, oh, this creator or this resource talks about doing this a certain way, and now this one said this, and now I can see this one clearer, or I can see how this perspective helps this one, or how these two are opposing, but yet they're still helping each other out. You're able to consolidate what you've learned and compare it and write it out a lot quicker. And the more you practice it, the easier it will be for you to filter out what matters and what doesn't. And then this applies to everything in your life. The more time you spend with yourself and your learning and your education and living your best life, going out and exploring and having a record of what you've done to show like, hey, this is what my life has been and this is where I want it to go, the more you will be able to see who's adding value and who's not. Are you talking to people or around people who don't excite you, who don't make you feel motivated, who you don't have fun around, who you aren't laughing with? If you are, why are you there if they're not adding this value to your life that you ostensibly want? Because you're here to live the best life that you possibly can, and it's only possible if you set that intention. So when you take notes, you're setting the intention that I'm going to pay attention to what this person is saying, to what this book is telling me, and maybe I'll read this book in 6 months from now and I'll completely get something else from it. But that just means that you're growing and you're changing as a person. And if change is going to happen, whether we wanted to or not, we might as well be guiding it. It's funny. I was in college in a class where I was like, we were talking about the butterfly effect. And that's, if you go back in time and you change the smallest thing, it creates this ripple effect and you could have a completely different reality. And I said, well, if that's true, couldn't we make a very small decision now that's going to affect our life grandly and completely in the future? So isn't it better to be intentional about what you're doing so that you can direct what those changes would be, at least to some extent? And a girl in the class was like, yeah, I'd rather not think about it that way because that's scary. That means you have too much power. And I'm like, but it's gonna happen anyway. And I said that. I was like, it's gonna happen anyway, so you might as well show up and do it now. So taking notes can help you solidify these lessons in a much clearer and quicker way. And there's many books that I go back to and many videos and many creators who talk about fairly similar things, but there's always something more to be learned, and you're a different person as you learn and as you grow. So you're going to receive certain things a lot deeper because you spent the time laying the foundation and the groundwork. And now you'll have a physical record in front of you saying like, oh, look, I filled out 2 notebooks of notes from everything that I'm learning. And you can flip through it. You can go back if you want to. I don't necessarily do that. Maybe it would help, but I'm always moving on to the next thing. And it's more of like, this is what I've done versus like, this is what I'm constantly going back to. But it always is there for me to go and look through. And it is fun to look at like, oh, March of 24, like what was I doing, and flip through it and to see like how some concepts that I have taken notes on from then, I am still talking about now, but it's such a deeper level. So the richness and the deepness that you achieve in your life can happen a lot quicker if you write things down. So whatever medium you want to use, go for it. I will be recommending certain things like index cards. I think index cards can be super fun. They're not as intimidating as a huge piece of paper or a really pretty notebook. So they're things you can just write things down and then move on quickly. And I'm also into lots of like little papers because yeah, writing on a big one and filling that up takes a lot more time than a little one, but then you still have a filled paper. So your mind is still feeling the same sense of accomplishment. So whatever you do, however you have been doing it is a great place to start. And there's so many different techniques. There's so many people who talk about what they do. Some of them are going to work for you and some of them aren't, but choosing and thinking about it will help you along the way. So start today. If you watch a video, if you watch this video, take some notes. What did you get from it? If there's a certain person you really enjoy watching their life and what they're doing, write some notes about places they've gone or things they've eaten or tried, and try it out yourself. Start implementing these things as soon as you see them. There is no point in waiting because the only real time we have is right now, so might as well enjoy it. So this brings me to the last thing that you can start implementing today. It might be a little more difficult if you don't have any of these at home. I personally have thousands. So stickers. Stickers are so fun. They're so cute. They're so innocent. There's really just, you're not gonna find like bad words or like hurtful messages on stickers. Usually it's uplifting and positive and cute. There's little coffee ones and little computers and little cakes and all sorts of cute things that you can add to your notebooks, to your life, to make it more beautiful, to make it more colorful, because really that's what we're going for, is to live a beautiful life. And to have a beautiful life, you want to fill it with sweet and fun things and colorful things and things that you enjoy. I personally enjoy stickers and have now started implementing them into my daily journaling. I use my bullet journal to write things out, and I've started just adding stickers more and being like, well, this is just for me. So if I find it fun to just like pick up the sticker that I like and put it down on the page, like, why not? So if it's not stickers, go and find some cute little thing that you could add that brings you some kind of joy. It might be using a pretty pen, or it might be having like the best fuzzy socks ever and you have a whole collection of them, but bring in some kind of sweetness and softness in your life, whatever way that looks like, just to add a little bit of joy all the time. Because what we're looking for is to be happy and have fun in life. So have it start every single day. Pick out your favorite sticker, and something that I've been doing is writing these little letters to myself, and then I put a pretty sticker on it, and then these are just ones that I found online, but I have a literal box of 150 of them, and I was like, what am I gonna do with this? And I was like, I'm gonna be cute. So those are some of the things that you can really just start implementing today. How can you beautify the life that you have and have more fun with it? Life is meant to be lived and enjoyed, and if you can plan out something, if you can really step into the world of these people that you are following, or into your own world, have records of your own life, take notes on what you've done, or if you can build in some beauty through stickers, through fun stuff, through little things that make you happy, do it, because your happiness is your responsibility, and it's your number one job in this world is to live your best life. It's the only responsibility you have. It's the only purpose that you really need to fulfill. These are specifically the ones that I will be using for the I Choose Me journey, so I'm going to link them all down below if you want to explore them. I, like I said, was never really into planners, so I had fun looking into them, but I know Bloom and Happy are different planners that exist out there, and they have their own sticker lines. Like, isn't that cute? Like, it's like little coffee. I don't even drink coffee, and I thought it was cute. So there's so many little things that you can start to incorporate, and just go and find the things that you want. You don't have to spend a ton of money on it. You can use notebooks that you've had. You can use a planner that you probably have thrown into a corner, or you can just use a piece of paper. You can buy 1 pack of stickers for $1 and start there. It doesn't have to be this huge investment, but the payoff is so grand. And at the end of the day, you want to live that amazing life. So start today, start now. How can you start to implement these little things? Let me know down below if there's certain things that you do already, if there's certain things that you want to pick up. I personally have thousands of stickers. I went a little overboard, but I plan on using them throughout the whole year. And yeah, we're going to keep talking about everything, about planning, about living your best life, and this I Choose Me journey is going to kick off very soon, but we still have a few more weeks of foundation to figure out where we are and where we want to go. And all of this is part of the life that you want to create. You have to do this work if you want to live an intentional and amazing life. It's taken me years to get to this point where I've thought about it so much, but every single step has gotten me here. If I didn't write all of these journals every month, I wouldn't believe in myself to have the ability to do this. If I didn't write notes for years on books, I wouldn't feel as empowered to change how I do it, which I will talk about soon. So all of these are micro steps into the greatest version of you, and every step is bringing you closer or further away, but you decide which one it's going to be, and you can choose again. So I hope you got something out of today's video. I will see you very, very soon. I hope you have an amazing week.